What's going on, everybody? Listen, I watched the press conference between Errol Spence and Terrence Bud Crawford. This is the first presser. We're going to be getting another one. To be honest, I still can't believe this fight is happening. It still hasn't really hit me yet. Like I'm excited and everything, and of course I'm gonna make a lot of content. I've already made a couple videos so far, but I still can't believe this fight is happening. To see them actually sitting there on stage, it looks so awkward. I still feel like when I watch the two of them, when they talk about it, I mean, it's different when they're on social media. When it's social media, it's like when you can tweet about anything you want, it's very easy to tweet it, but as opposed to saying it in an interview or being face to face with each other. Like I've said in other videos, you can tell that these two got a lot of respect for each other. They both feel like the other fighter is the best fighter, regardless of what their fans say. Us, including myself, people will sit here and try to tell you if you are Team Bud, they are going to try to destroy Errol Spence as a person, his resume, everything. Same thing with Bud Crawford. I've heard Errol Spence fans say some of the worst things about Crawford that I've heard about any other fighter out there. All of this time building up to this moment, people have said some crazy things. I've heard some crazy takes over the years. Every single time these two fought, everybody had something negative to say. Not just criticism or just regular criticism, certain things, certain areas where the fighters can improve on. I'm talking about just disrespectful shit. People are making content. People have been making content being disrespectful to one of these two fighters. But you can tell, like, I'm hyped for the fight and I'm glad to see them there. And it's not really a problem that they have respect for each other. Obviously, they made this fight happen. They had to call each other and FaceTime each other and talk about personal things in order to make this fight happen. You know what I'm saying? But I kind of wish they hated each other. I think that's the only thing. Even though they had a little exchange in words here, they did. And I think that's where they're both comfortable at. I don't think they're great at speaking when it comes to doing interviews. When they did the first ESPN one, where they were on like the panel, but weren't actually face to face, I can tell like they're trying to be too PC, because they're on First Take and they just trying to be like overly professional. I don't think that is where they talk the best. I think they talk the best when they're talking trash to each other. It reminds me when they were back in backstage in that fight event that they had that first face off that they had when they were going back and forth. Bob Aaron was there. I think that's their environment. That's where they need to be to feel comfortable. When they're just around the homies and just talking trash to you, that's their real natural element. Speaking like in a professional manner about their opponent is not where they're good at, because that's when they start like freezing up in what they say and stuff. Nah, I think their element is when they're talking trash to each other. You know what I mean? And we got that. I think it started off where it was like real, like kind of awkward, when they first came to stage and they're having the first face off. I think once they got comfortable, once the trash talk started, and Spence actually set it off because Spence, I think Bud Crawford was asked a question and Spence just jumped in and replied to him, and then they started going back the trash talk about resumes. I think Spence kicked it off by saying like, bro, you didn't fight nobody. I mean, even Sean said he didn't prepare for you like he prepared for me. And Bud responded with, okay, well, I did what you couldn't do to Sean Porter. And Spencer's like, yeah, because he wasn't as prepared. You know what I'm saying? You didn't fight him at his best. But that's when Bud went on to say, well, you didn't fight Kell Brook at his best because you fought him with him coming off of a broken eye. And he's like, yeah, when I broke the other guy, I was like, yeah, because he was already, his other eye was already broken. So, and then they started going, and that's when the back and forth started, and I loved it because these are the arguments that the fans are making every single day. We've been talking about this for the last 5 years. You know what I'm saying? Since 2018, we've been having the same debate, but before it was only, the Kell Brook thing, and it was only Bud only beating Jeff Horn. At that time, he only had the Jeff Horn win. And I know it was a significant win at that time. At least I thought it was, because at that time, people were saying, come up, beat Jeff Horn, and, then he would be an option. But after he beat Jeff Horn, everybody's like, nah, see, you got to fight some real fighters at welterweight. And I'm not just talking about the fighters. I'm talking about the fans. He's like, he ain't fighting nobody. He just beat Jeff Horn. You know what I mean? So these are the arguments that we've had for years. I'm basically over it. I'm going to be talking more about what these two need to do to win. And they both brought that up. Spence has always been the fighter that is willing to break your will. You know what I'm saying? Just be physically menacing and just outworking you, outpowering you. I think a lot of people always bring up the fact that he didn't stop Mikey. I think you got to give credit to Mikey for not being stopped by Errol Spence, because he dropped Sean Porter. He stopped Yordenis Ugas. You know what I mean? He stopped Kell Brook. But he didn't stop Mikey. But you can't dismiss the fact that he stopped those other guys or dropped those other guys. You know what I mean? And we know that Bud, he's coming in with the angles, all of the special character, like the special things that he can do, the adjustments, and he's more of I know Spence is more of a technically sound, or when it comes to fundamentals, he stick to his fundamentals, but Bud is a type of fighter that adjusts to whoever he's fighting. And we're going to see that collide, and we're going to see which is better. I've heard both arguments over the year. I'm team Bud because I want to see what happens when Spence can't just break. I believe that Spence won't only be able to break his will. I think Spence is going to do what is going to try to do what's always working for him. And I think he will have some success. But what I've seen with Bud Crawford is even when he's catching big shots or in close fights, or I see there's a point where Bud just snaps out of it and say, okay, I'm going to take you out. Now I figured you out. I'm going to beat you at whatever way I need to do to beat you. You know what I mean? I made the last video that I did on this fight. I basically said, hopefully the egos don't get in the way. I think if the egos happen to get in the way, it would probably be more Bud, because Bud, like he said in this press conference, he said something like, sometimes I'm a fighter. Sometimes I get into a fight when somebody hits me with a tough shot. Hopefully he doesn't fall too much into that trap and trying to beat Errol at his own game. Like, I'm going to just go slug it out, punch for punch with you. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he can't win doing that, but I don't think that would be the smartest way to win. I think Bud has been successful at being smart and outsmarting his opponent. I think if he's going to take the approach, which he has in other fights, where he's just going to go straight at you and take the hits while giving them, it can lead to him getting caught with a good shot, from a very dangerous puncher in Errol Spence. You got to remember, the thing is with Spence, hasn't stopped everyone at the elite level, but he's a very good body puncher, and so is Bud, to his credit. We don't give him enough credit for the things that he can do and stopping the people that he stopped, because he's a phenomenal KO artist himself. But I think that being that Errol is the naturally bigger guy, and is shown to be very durable to his point. I mean, when's the last time he really got hurt in a fight? Not the cheap shot he got from Ugas, where he got his mouthpiece fell out. I'm talking about The Latte fight was many years ago. That's the last time he really got hurt by a shot. But I also believe that part of the reason why I'm giving it to Bud is because I think he can get hurt by a shot he don't see coming. And I think that's Bud's advantage there. It's those angles. You know what I'm saying? It's those short counters and stuff from punches that you don't see coming. I don't think it's like a lot of these guys, like Ugas, just try to work off the counter and, some of these fighters, like who had, Kell Brook tried to beat him off with his jab and the movement and the timing, and it was good. But I think Terrence Bud Crawford he hits you with something you don't see coming, and then he knows how to follow up with it. It's not just your typical flurries and combinations. It's like Bud always starts it off from a shot you don't see, and then that's when he tries to finish you off. He'll hit you with that second and third shot is what does the damage. You know what I mean? And that's what I think that can possibly hurt Spence. But again, I don't mind the arguments from the Spence people because they like him and his fundamentals. I heard someone compare him to Tim Duncan, the basketball player. I forgot where I heard that from. Somebody was, I think it might have been on Sean Porter. I don't know who they compare. I don't remember who they compared Terrence Bud Crawford, but I didn't agree with that. Whoever, whatever it was, whatever basketball player. But Tim Duncan is Mr. Fundamentals. Nothing flashy about him. You know what I mean? I think even his coach, Derek James, has said something about maybe a while ago that Spence is a boring fighter because he's fundamentally sound. He stick to, his fundamentals. He's not trying to be flashy. He's not giving you, he's very basic. But what it does work because he is going to mentally break you. You might catch him with some good shots here and there. You might give him some issues, but he's going to break your will. He's going to try to break your will because, like I've said in other videos, the first round you're getting out of Spence, you're getting that in a very tough round. You might even get it worse as the fight goes on because as you slow down, he's going to keep picking it up. You know what I mean? As the more damage you take, the more, you're not going to be able to take it later on when you've taken so much punishment. That's what happened with Ugas. You know what I mean? But I also feel like, and that's the thing with these people that just try to make these points. You also got to understand that when it comes to both of these fighters, they're so much better than their other opponents on a resume. When Spence say, or his fans say, who did you fight? Spence, there's a reason why you have Bud in your top 5. There's a reason why you're saying that the winner of this fight is the best fighter in the world. This is the reason why you're fighting him last. Because you know how dangerous he is. He's aware of it. Some of his fans don't understand that. Resumes and experience is something you have to add into the discussion when trying to predict a fight. But sometimes people take it too far. Bud is by far the best fighter that Spence has ever fought. By far. In the same way with Crawford. Crawford has never been involved in a fight where people really think he might lose the fight. It's been a long time. You know what I mean? This is that fight here. This fight right here. So you guys got to understand that regardless of how this fight go, this is their toughest challenge to date going into the fight as far as the matchup. And this is why I think this is the best matchup because both of these guys are undefeated. They're still looking great. In their last fights, they still look great. I know it could have happened at a better time. People compare it to Manny Pacquiao and Floyd Mayweather. This is better than that, in my opinion. I think that definitely happened late. But they still were very good at the time that they did fight. So people take away because of the outcome of the fight. I'm sure if Manny Pacquiao won the fight, people would have been like, hey, I mean, they wouldn't have said nothing about it being too late if Manny Pacquiao, as long as because Floyd won. A lot of the Manny Pacquiao people or the people that hate Floyd always try to dismiss the fight. Yes, the fight wasn't an action-packed fight. It wasn't a great fight. It was a regular fight. But, this fight here, the matchup is perfect. It's not going to be anyone. Bud gives us good fights. Spence gives us great fights too. Like they give us good fights. You know, I can't wait for the fight, man. The press conference was solid. It was good. I do feel like I wish they hated each other a little bit more. You know, because I don't feel that real tension between them. It's not there. They really don't have it. They have too much respect for each other. You know what I mean? They're cool with each other. They might not be friends, but they're cool with each other and they respect each other a lot. So there's no real animosity. I think the animosity is really between the fans. And when they are face to face, I think now what I will say is this. Bud is normally chill in these early press conferences. I think Bud is a lot different when it comes to the final presser or the weigh-in. The week of the fight, he's a different person. I've seen him be cool early and then mean later, So I think the weigh-in is going to be intense, you know what I'm saying? Because I think they both are going to want to psych this. So Spence is always kind of chill. I think Bud is going to be more intense in the week of the fight, you know what I mean? But the press conference is cool. I'm looking forward to seeing the second one. I like them to go back and forth, but they're just bringing up arguments that all our fans have always made. And to be honest, now that the fight is here, I'm looking at it from a technical standpoint. And every time I do content, I'm looking at it where this is what this fighter can do to have an advantage over the other. It's really a pick-em fight based on their styles. You know what I mean? I think I've seen people talking about the size and stuff between the two today. Spence is naturally bigger, but he was wearing heels today. He's wearing those high boots, and he's taller. He was taller today than he normally is. He's not that much. I don't even know if he is taller than Bud. I think they're around the same height. I'm sure they're like only a half inch off, but he looked much taller to him because of those high boots he had on. I think Bud had regular sneakers on or something like that. But as far as mass, it's hard to really tell. Spence got a baggy shirt. It's not really that fitted, You can't really tell. But what I will say is that I don't think Bud is as small as people try to say he is as a welterweight. I think he is a welterweight. I know he's moved up from 135 to 140 to 147. But he hasn't looked small in any fight that I've seen him in. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't really looked small. So with that being said, Spence is definitely bigger. All right. He's probably heavier naturally. But Bud is very, very strong. These are natural athletes that played other sports growing up. You know what I mean? Bud is not a small guy, and if Bud ends up winning these fights, whether or not they have a rematch, he's going to move up to 154 right after that. He's going to be going after whoever is the champ at 154. You know what I mean? He's gunning to fight Jamel, So, we'll talk more about that, but presser was cool. Just want to give you my first thoughts on it. And we'll do, we're definitely going to be having more conversations about this fight. We're going to be doing a ton of content on this fight as it gets closer to the actual fight. All right. So anyway, I'm out of here. I think I don't know if I wanted to cover anything else. It wasn't really much. I heard, the coaches spoke and, the coaches, Brian, McIntyre and Derek James. Derek James is always class act, always respectful. He doesn't like to do the extra talking. Brian said what he said. It wasn't much really said. It's no real intensity between the two, So I think I covered all areas, but let me know what you thought in the comments. Please subscribe to the channel, smash the like button if you like the content, and I'll be back with some more soon. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.